computer. Good. Yeah, thank you, Adrian. That's great. Okay, so today's session is on infant mother matching. Somebody had asked me for a short, it might have been you, Tim, something on a short baby demo or something. So I figured
it was David. This is a project we had, that George project, a couple of weeks ago, which I needed to deliver something. So that was very useful.
Right. So I figured I'd do this and at the same time benefit from having a little video we would record from here, and I'd do a demo. So, but in general, these are the topics that I was thinking about for the webinars. Again, we try to keep them short, not too long, no more than, let's say, half an hour. Some of them might even be shorter. And, once on Mondays and Thursdays at this time. And if it works, it works. If not, whatever. But if you guys are interested in other topics, let me know. Maybe we can rearrange them and add. Okay, so next week's virus contact tracing, co-location report and alert, that is relative to Israel. What you were talking about getting some material to promote the use of this technology for combating the COVID. Okay. All right, so I want to begin with a bit of more high level, and then we will dive a little deeper into the technology, into the demos, etc. So what are the benefits of matching, of having an infant tagging system in general, but in particular, the ability to match mothers and infants? So first of all, it's to discreetly prevent accidental swaps. So what happens is a typical scenario would be where infants are bathed. So they're bathing, one nurse is bathing one infant and another nurse another infant, and they accidentally put them back in the wrong beds and the wrong bassinets. And then infant is brought back to mom, and mom ends up nursing an infant that's not hers. And sure enough, the hospital is smacked with a liability claim for possible transmission of illnesses, etc., because the mom nursed the wrong baby, right? So we want to be able to discreetly inform the nurse when she's bringing baby to mom that she's bringing it to the wrong mom, right? So we want to be able to notify her, perhaps with a lamp or something, with an LED at the entrance to the room or by the bed, saying, okay, this is a red, this is not the correct room, go to the other room where there's a green. So as she walks down the corridor, each room will show whether the mom of that baby is in that room, or when they bring, or when mom comes to take the baby from the nursery, if she's just looking at the card on the bassinet and she starts rolling baby out of the nursery, she should get an alert at the door of the nursery before she has a chance to bring it back to her room that, okay, I have a mismatch here. So all those things require mother-infant matching. Right? Of course, the abduction alarm is the primary purpose of the system, and here we're able to allow mom and baby move freely throughout the facility, throughout the wards, and even if they need to go through doors, then they're not stopped. But if the infant is brought without his or her mom, then the door gets locked. And finally, the accountability at discharge is when you discharge a baby at home. That's probably one of the most sensitive points of the whole process of the labor and delivery, is actually discharging the infant back to their home. And that's where you have to make sure that that they're sending the right baby home with the right mom. And not only is it a check, because what we can do is say you cannot cut the band until you perform the match test, and then automatically status changes, and then they can cut the band as long as there's a successful match test, right? Not only is it a check and that they're preventing the nurses from sending it home, but also they have accountability. So they have a record in the database that match test was performed before releasing and discharging that infant. And they could use that in a court of law, etc., to make sure that they have proof. And they can also, if there's any mistakes that have happened, then they can track it. So those are some of the benefits of having the ability to match mother tag and baby tag. Anybody has any comments, questions, whatever along the way, please feel free to ask. I'm not going to mute everybody because it's nice and quiet. I don't hear any noise in the background. So you guys can keep your mic on and speak up as you wish. Okay, some of the things we're going to dive into a little greater detail later is automatic activation and pairing. So, and I'll demo that probably by the next slide or so. The idea is that when you attach the tag to the infant, you can automatically pair that tag with mom, and that tag automatically moves into the active status. And from that point on, the tag will alarm. But when it's in the discharge state, it will stop alarming, right? It'll be disarmed essentially. Auto discharge on match test. So that's we were mentioning earlier. So you can automatically discharge only after you've done the match test, removed the tag, removed or cut the band, and then the tag moves into the discharge state, and you can put it in the drawer and move it around and clean it. And then when you put it back on an infant, it'll get reactivated. So no need for computer interaction, no need of using user interfaces. Everything is done automatically. And what we also have for enrolling the tag and changing the status, we could use the HL7 interface. So if baby is admitted in the ADT, Admit Discharge Transfer system that has an HL7 interface, that transaction can be then forwarded to Omni and automatically enable that tag and associate it with mom, etc. So that's all in the Omni software. So we have local match test, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. That the result of the test, mom presses the button on her tag next to infant, and the tag turns green. Or you can get match tests, match lights in the room where the test is performed. The the result on the tag LED uses the local matching. The mother ID is programmed into the tag at birth. The match light in the room uses the Omni matching, and we're going to go into that in slightly greater detail. And of course, matching locally will automatically create the match in Omni. We've got a bunch of alarm bypass options where you can use of course, the mother can, if she's with the infant, can escort the infant out the exit. You can use keypad, you can use key switch, you can use prox card, so the nurse or the mother doesn't carry an active card, but rather a simple, inexpensive prox card, and you associate the prox reader with the LF at the door. You can have either group associations for escort or personal companions, right? Right, okay. So we're going to go into the process now. So that was a relatively high-level summary. I think that was. Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the actual process and how it works with the software, right? So for this, we need to understand that there are two types of pairing. Okay, we've got the pairing on the tag and the pairing in Omni, and they're linked, but they are independent. So we have to keep that in mind when we understand how matching works in Omni. All right. So we're going to, this automatic pairing thing we're going to go through now. I'll demonstrate it for you, and I think that'll be the best way to understand. Okay, so everybody see my desk, right?
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
So here we have a baby tag, and we've got two moms. Get that a little close to the LF. All right, got that. So here I've got my ALC LF exciter, and I've got EV2 client down here, and I've got the web client over here. And I've defined a location alert that alerts that is overridden. In other words, as a bypass, or it's suppressed if the baby is escorted with its mother. But at the moment, if I have a look at Omni, at the badge match configuration companions, I'll see that my tag, which is Baby Bob, has no companion, right? So at the moment, it's not linked to anybody. So of course, if I take my tag and I put it in the LF, right, this LF is now at the minimum range, so it's maybe a few centimeters, then I get the alarm. And even if I put both moms, right, both moms are in the LF, you see it on the map, and I take my tag to the LF, I get the alarm, right? You're not seeing, there's a pop-up, okay. I guess the system tray has a system safe tray pop-up showing the alarm, but suffice it to say, you can see the alarm text here as well on the top of the EV2 banner. Right, so let's take moms now off, right? The location will relocate out of the LF. There we go. Now I've got my tag. And the process is I'm going to take the tag, attach the band. And when this band, I cut with scissors, and I attach it simply by squeezing the conductors together. And I use a little closed laundry pin, and I'm gonna connect it. And you can see it says down below, Baby Bob infant band attached, right? And now I can take, let's say, Mom Megan, and I push the button. And as you can see, it's flashing now. I get, Baby Bob is at the exit. Let's move it away for a moment. Okay, so you could see it started flashing when now this mother is now programmed into this tag, or at least the LFID of this tag, because this tag, when I press the button, it transmits an LF signal. So now, when I push I get a green, that's a match success. And you can see I get a match success alert. Or if I take the other mom and I push the button, I get the red on the tag indicating that it's a match failure, right? So, by the way, what's interesting, a sidebar here is that you can see the flashing of the tags. That's the infrared signal being transmitted by the tags that you cannot see with the naked eye. And you're only seeing it now because the digital computer, the camera, picks up that infrared as visible light. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so now I take Mom. Now, first of all, let me show you what's happened here. If I shouldn't have been on. We got a little bug here. Just a minute. Let's see. Let's go through this process one more time. And I'm going to attach the badge and pair with Mom. We have a bug that if you're on the config screen, when you do that here, as you can see, it automatically associated Megan with Baby Bob, right? So now, not only is the mother tag programmed into this baby tag for the purpose of local matching, in other words, no need for Omni, but if now I put Mom at the exit, and now I move the baby to the exit, I don't get an alarm because we have an escort, now that's because we have the Omni matching. Now, theoretically, I can create that match manually if I want. I don't even need a baby tag to create a match between tags. So for example, let's say you have a patient wandering system with the bracelet tags, right? And you want to attach that to a senior. You can create a match between a loved one, let's say, and that tag, and you could do many to many in the Omni matches. As far as
also, David,
yeah.
can also associate more tags than with one baby.
You can in Omni, you cannot for the local matching. So if you want to associate, you can have a many-to-many relationship, meaning in Omni, using this interface, right, I can drag Marilyn onto baby Bob as well. So that's, I can have father and mother, and I can have Marilyn be an escort to multiple babies. So I can have many, but that is for the Omni side, not for the local matching. The local matching can only remember one tag. And when that match is created, when it's paired, it will add it to the Omni database. Right? So we're going to remove that companion just to be consistent right now. Okay, very good. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. So we're talking about process. So you attach the band. When you attach the band, it starts flashing. I think you have 30 or 60 seconds in which time to press the mother tag next to it, and that will create the pair in both systems, right? So that I mentioned mother ID is stored in the baby tag, and the pair is automatically created in Omni. The match test, again, you need to be within 15 centimeters, more or less, of the baby tag when you push the mother tag. But that's for a local match test. Let's go on. Then you have, for example, room entry alert. So very often, we have lots of customers that are saying, okay, when nurse brings baby into the ward, I want to be able to check to see if it's with the correct mother or not. Right? So we would do that simply by using the location alert, and the location alert has the both enable or disable if the companion is with the tag, is at that same location. And of course, you can look in adjacent locations for the companion, right? So if you can associate an IR and an LF, etc., to do escort. Right? So if a nurse brings infant into the room with mom, in that case, let's say we want to give a green light. So that's easy. Tag enters the location. Omni looks for mom, finds mom at that location or a nearby location, and gives them a green light. Nurse brings infant into a room with wrong mom. Well, how are we going to achieve that? So we can do that simply by creating one alert that alarms when a tag enters a room with any mom. And then it triggers if that mom is there, it will close that alert within milliseconds, so you won't even see it. So what happens is it will alert if the tag enters into a room with any mom but its mom. So to do the reverse logic, you simply create two alerts, one for all moms, and a second one that cancels the first one. We're using the auto actions, the alert cancel, to achieve that logic. And if we have time, I'll take you through that as well. So let's look quickly through some of the tools in Omni that we can use for the baby match scenarios. So of course, you've got the location alert. You've got the Elpas badge alert, which, okay, why would we want to use the location alert? The answer is obvious. The baby enters in the location, try to take the baby out of the nursery. You want to alert if the baby is not with the mom. But the Elpas badge alert, we have a few alerts in Omni and let me take you to that now. See if I can do this. Here. So if I look in my alerts, and I look at my Elpas badge alert, here I have the various events for that are transmitted by a baby tag. We have infant band attached, infant band removed, infant high LF noise. Can someone suggest why we have an infant high LF noise alert? That's an event that if the baby tag is jammed, essentially, the LF receiver detects high noise, LF noise, 125 kilohertz, then it will transmit in the radio, I have high noise. Can someone suggest what the benefit is of that alert? Come on, Jacek.
David, I would have thought, it's Tim, David, I would have thought that it stops people being able to take a baby out by simply blocking the LF with noise.
Correct. So there was a big issue a couple of years back that cell phones, iPhones, etc., that if you put it on the tag would jam the LF receiver. So the tag essentially would not detect the LF beacon by the door, and you'd be able to walk through the exit with the tag as long as you keep that phone slapped onto the tag. And we came out with this solution so that you get an alarm if the tag is jammed, if the LF receiver. Correct him. Okay. Of course, low battery standard, but the match success and mismatch mother, pretty poor wording, but so they're just the reverse. So I will get a match success. So if you look at the banner up here, okay, and I'm going to, yes.
She asked you, but somebody else answered.
Yeah, because I was on mute.
Okay, so if, here you see I got Baby Bob match success. That's an Elpas badge alert. And if I do the match with the, then you have mismatch mother. That's the other alert, but that's the event that's being transmitted by the tag, and then we've defined the Elpas badge alert to trigger on those events. And in the alert, I put in the description, which tells me what event it was that was triggered. Okay. And back to PowerPoint. Okay, but before, let me quickly, in EV2, we've got the local indicator. That's a tool that's pretty important. You need to be able to, if you have an alert, let's say you define a location alert that you're using actually for match test. What you could do is say, okay, based on the location of that alert, set a particular output. So you have the infant enters into a room. You want to notify, give a green signal that it's the correct room. Right? You don't have to have a separate alert for each room in order to set the output for that room. But to associate location with an output, we use the local indicator. And that is, for example, local indicator outputs, you select for which alerts, let's say for baby event or whatever, I don't know, at exit or at room, let's say. And then for each reader, right? So for this reader, I will select specific outputs. So if the alert occurs at that reader, it will set those outputs. That's the local indicator, an important tool in Omni. Then you have the badge match configuration, which we looked at before. So here's where you define your companions. As I mentioned, if you're using local matching, they'll be defined automatically for you. Adjacent readers, this is where you say, okay, if I have an exit, so the nurse can escort the infant, but I want it to alarm even if the nurse is not right next to the door. But if the nurse is, let's say, in an IR reader nearby the door, it's enough and it will suppress the alarm when the infant hits that door, right? So that's adjacent readers. We use the same tool if you want a nurse to present a prox card. So you say, okay, this prox reader is adjacent to this LF. So a nurse presents her prox card and she's able to escort the infant out of the door without an alarm. So that's adjacent readers. Then match lights. This is the old-fashioned Elpas matching. So, and it can be used as well with the local matching as well. But the idea being is that you set an output of the reader based on the result of the match, and that's no matter where it happened, and you select which readers you want as match stations. You say, okay, I want to do contact 1, output 1 for a success, output 2 for a failure, and maybe both for an ambiguous. You set up which is the mom group, which is the baby group, etc. You can manually define, it says use contact definitions from local indicator rather than the physical outputs on the reader. You can say, okay, let's say it's an LF location and the LF doesn't have outputs in your case, or you don't want to use those outputs. So for that location, you can define 2 outputs. That's back in the local indicator configuration where we say, reader contacts. So let's say for this reader or ward 2 here, I said, okay, for ward 2, contact 1 is the relay on the expansion card, and output 2 would be the second relay, and then the match test would turn those on rather than the open collectors 1 and 2. So yeah, that's in local matching. Auto actions are important. For example, you put the tag on where the auto actions. We have got 2 types, and we started a few minutes late, so I'm just going to grab another 2 or 3 minutes here. Auto action, we have 2 types. We've got 3 types actually: a plain auto action and alert cancel. And we're going to need both of those. So for example, an auto action, a regular auto action, right? We're going to say, okay, if I put the band on the infant, I attach the band, so the baby band, if I say the baby group, the input state, the button state of button 2 begins as up, begins as down, so that it's tampered, and then I go to the monitor state. So if I see monitor for, not location, but button state goes up, button 2 goes up, then the response is to change the status of the tag to active. Okay, it's sort of like a scripting language where I can tell the system, okay, when you detect this type of thing, change the status. Now that it arms the tag essentially. Or when I do the discharge process, I could say, okay, I want to put the tag into an allow discharge state. I do that by doing a match test. So the initial state would be any location, monitor match test result successful. So if I get a successful match test, then I will the response would be discharge due to allow discharge, and that will time out after a while if they don't cut the tag. Then you do another script that says if it's an allow discharge and I cut the tag, then it will go into discharge and stay there permanently. So auto actions is a very powerful tool to script whatever kind of scenarios you might want, or if a baby is let out of the wards to go for testing, etc. When it comes back into the ward, I want it to automatically rearm again. That's done with auto actions. Then there's the location, the nurse call cancel, or I do the alert cancel. And that's, for example, if I walk into a room and I set 2 alerts. One is the on any mom, and then a second one is if her mom is there. And I do her mom cancels the any mom. So I do one alert, closes another one, and then we're left only with the with the mom that's there. But if no mom, if the baby's mom is not there, then the alarm of any mom will stay open, and that would be an alarm that alerts that it's the wrong mother. Okay, and auto alert close. That's another feature that's pretty popular. We can use for nurse arrival or anything like that. That's what we just discussed. Good. Let's see if I've got anything else in the PowerPoint. Yeah, that's about it. Questions, Q&A, anybody?
David, it's Tim.
Yeah, Tim.
Do you have a solution for matching mother's milk?
We actually, where was that? Was that for South Africa?
So expressed milk, being able to match the expressed milk to the baby.
Right, Jacek, that was with you, right? We did.
Yeah, we've got, and I still got this extension. I don't know if it was ever implemented, but if it's needed, I still got this extension for use. We've tested it; it was working beautifully. It never went live, but the solution is there.
We did that.
Working.
Right. Thank you, Jacek. Tim, the challenge is more a mechanical challenge of how to. We've got the logic in Omni. The trick is attaching. How you're going to attach the tag to the bottle.
It is a use case here. Actually, a use case is probably stronger than the use case around mother-baby matching is reasonably strong. Baby abduction is not necessarily strong. We don't tend to have that too much of a problem there. So what I'm trying to do is find reasons to introduce a solution, and if there's a reason around mother's milk matching, which is something that's been brought up to me a number of times in conversation, then it sort of gives us a pathway to further conversations around this. Right.
Well, I'll be happy to discuss the solution with you, which we have. Again, if you're okay with, let's say, taking a baby tag and gluing it to the bottle or something, you have to find a solution. Yeah.
Remember, we found the bottles that had like a bottleneck close to the top of the bottle, and we were attaching baby tag there, so it was impossible to slide it down or up. It was just sitting in this like a nest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Actually, the particular types of bottle, basically have a smaller sort of center than they do the top and bottom. So you could easily put it there.
Easy to grab, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I've seen quite a few bottles like that. So, cool. Okay.
All right, but yeah, we can talk offline about the detailed solution. But yeah, that's a good use case, and apparently, as Jacek said, is a big deal because moms get released from hospital and babies remain for observation, and mom expresses milk, and they have to make sure that they give the correct milk to the correct baby. Right?
Exactly.
So that's a big deal and good use case. Okay, so next week on Monday, if you guys are interested, we're going to talk a bit about co-location, about contact tracing. I think the term is used now in hospitals. Other perhaps benefits of using an RTLS to fight COVID-19, and then I'll share this presentation to all of you. To at least whoever was invited appears on the invitation of this meeting. And I'll also include the link to the recording on YouTube.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, David. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You
Bye,
all.
guys. Take care, guys.
Keep safe,
Take
keep
care.
safe, guys.
You too.
Bye, all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.